Hello, thank you, Diana. I am very happy to be here to share my experience, and I hope it will be really useful for you. So basically, my topic is learning from the failure and how to embrace setbacks as learning opportunity. But first, I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience. I am software engineer who works uh, for different product companies in Ukraine and here in Czech Republic. I am really passionate about gaining new knowledge, gaining new experience. And during my experience, I had worked with different team setups, and in different work environments. What I wanted to highlight in my experience and what I wanted to mention that sometimes I would be looking a little bit this way because I have some notes there to share everything with you, to not forget anything. So just for you to know that I'm not looking somewhere else and just to be sure that I will share everything with you guys. So I'm a backend developer for 10 years, and I have worked for different product companies for Ukrainian, Czech, and US markets. Also, when I moved to Czech Republic 7 years ago, I started my Telegram channel about importance of diversity and inclusion. I'm really passionate about this topic, and I really like to share my experience and to learn from any other diverse experience. I have been organizing different events for different tech communities in Kyiv and also in Prague. In Kyiv, I've been organized PHP meetups, and here in Prague, I organize meetups for Fempolet community. I also organize events for Ukrainian tech community in Prague, and now I am a partner of WTech community. It's community for professional females in web technologies, basic and in business. From the previous year, I started to mentor people and to share my experience. Also, sometimes I am a mentee myself. I also have experience to mentor people in different communities here in Prague. I mentored in React Girls and also in Chiquitas. And also, I am a speaker. I speak at WTech events. I had experience to speak at PHP Frameworks Days this previous year, 2024. But what I wanted to highlight and what basically turns out like why we are here and why we want to talk about failure, it's like what you are do not see after any like person experience. You don't see what people are going through, and you don't see basically their setbacks, their failures, until they don't really share about that. So my experience wasn't like really flat or like really straight from the like 0 point to the top. I relocated to Czech Republic as a student while already had having some experience as a developer back in Ukraine. I needed to learn Czech language from the zero, and I needed to improve my English language as well. Basically, when I moved to Czech Republic, I spoke English, I would say A1 level. I also needed to build new network in Czechia to meet new people uh, for building my networking for any like professional field and etc. Also, when I'm talking about my Telegram channel, I sometimes I don't mention how it's difficult to keep up with a blog, how it's difficult sometimes to understand what I like to share, what would be like something like my followers would like to read from me. Um, is it would be like some post or some blog they would learn from some useful information. And lately, I really struggled with that a lot. I changed a topic of the channel. I really, in a way where I'm looking for how I can be useful in my blog and what I can share. When I'm talking about organizing tech events, I didn't mention about how I was fired kind of like from one of communities because of reorganization, and how it's always about the battle between your goals and like time management. While I'm working as a software engineer, I'm really passionate about building communities, gathering people together, but it's all volunteering, it's non-profit, and it's difficult to sometimes to have time for it and to have it as priority. Also, when I started to mentor people last year, at my first sessions, I felt like imposter. I didn't know what my experience can be useful to other people, what I can learn them. Do they ask for some tech share like experience or some soft skills and experience? It's always like questionable about that experience, and it took some time to be really to get used to it and to find a joy in every mentoring session. And also to become a mentee myself, it took me 5 years basically. I asked for my mentor when I already been 5 years as a backend developer, and it was in really difficult situation when I was struggling to understand which way I want to grow and want to go to which way in my career. When I talk about like being a speaker, I also didn't mention that a few years ago I started a podcast with my friend. We had 3 episodes. I think the last one we even didn't post it, and we basically struggled to continue. So what I wanted to say to you that it's okay to share about your failure, but it's okay to share in a safe space. With me sharing about like my failures in a public space, it took me time, and also I learned my lessons from it. So now I can openly talk about something I went through and something that was difficult for me. Um, and what I can say is that without those experiences, without failures, we can't grow, we can't be better, we can't pursue it in our careers. Uh, what I wanted to highlight as well is that we are people firsthand. And my approach always is like having like to talk to the person firsthand, to think about any like my colleague, teammates, any person I have a conversation to, I interact with as a like a human firsthand, and then someone I'm working with or organize event with. And we all as a people, we have different experience, different background, and we also have different abilities to go through failures. In today's talk, I wouldn't give you like one template how you can grow from failure, and because it's impossible. And but still I ask you to stay and to go with me like through this experience, because there's different failure and there's different effective and ineffective ways how we can learn from it and how we can grow from it. So what is failure? Basically, failure is a lack of success. It's something some action, for example, we did, and the result of this action doesn't meet our expectations, like the outcome. And basically, it's a lot about our expectation, but it's also a lot about actions that we do. And as I already said, about our backgrounds and all the stuff. So I wanted to talk about different types of failure, how we can like identify them. Um, those types of failure was defined by Amy Edmondson, a professor of leadership at Harvard Business School. And she defined it three types of failure. The basic one is the result of simple mistakes, but which can lead to different size of failure. In our day-to-day, like day-to-day life, it could be like when we use salt instead of sugar for our tea, and then we don't have expected outcome. But it's like a small size failure, and it's easy to change. Also, I will talk about an example of every failure in next slides. When we talk about another type, it's a complex failure. It's when many factors coming together and they are creating a huge failure, massive breakdown. I hope as tech professionals, uh, I hope you all had basic failure. I think so, because it's just an example when we write something, some code deployed to production, or like production, I think it's a huge failure, but to some test environment and it didn't work. It's failure, but it's done by simple mistake, and it is basically easy to fix sometimes. Um, about complex failures, same, but it should be many factors in this failure, and I will highlight them as well. And also there is intelligent failure, and it occurs in a situation where we don't know like what outcome to expect, and we kind of like experimenting. It's a kind of failure we all want to have, because it's a failure from which we are growing and we are gaining our knowledge. So about basic failure, which was a simple mistake, but with a huge outcome. It's from the previous year CrowdStrike update, when they updated just some part of their Falcon sensor, but when it was a key security tool for Windows, and when all the like not all, I think, but a lot of Windows systems had this blue screen of death. And yeah, like this type of failure is understandable. It could be prevented, but still we can learn a lot from it, and we can make our outcomes from it, how it could be improved next time. When we talk about complex failure, we talk about multiple systems that are involved, and we talk about some failures that we can't predict. So we calculated everything. We had, for example, in software, we had unit test for one microservice. For another microservice, we had some end-to-end test. We checked everything, but we can't predict, for example, how database will behave, or we couldn't predict. And we couldn't predict the amount of users, or we have predicted it, but the amount of users who use these systems were huge, and the system can't work anymore and have a big failure. And with that, it means that it's not easy to fix complex failure because it's a chain of reactions to some problem. From last year, an example could be that Google Gemini AI. So this image generator had different issues, and it was because there was issues with AI trainings, with data processing, and with user interaction. So it, like, for example, it all was tested in ideal environment with users who went through all the functionality easily, but when it went to production, it wasn't that predictable. And when we talk about intelligent failure, it's failures that lead to valuable learnings and progress. And as I mentioned, it's about this scientific approach to failures and about new experiences. So there are 4 types of intelligent failure. One of them is when it's a new territory. The example of it's like when we are learning new programming language and we experiment with it. And for sure, we have some mistakes. We have some failures, something didn't work, but with that, we gain our experience and we become better, and we are becoming an expert in this language. Also, another type is a worthy goal. It's when we have some important goal, and for that we can justify all the risks. In a tech field, it could be like huge marketing campaign for new feature. We need to share this information with our users, and it could be our first time we do all these campaigns, but then we would have this high load issues, for example. But it's a worthy goal to do that because we need to share this information with our users. Also, another type is hypothesis driven. It's when we want, when we already have some ideas about expected outcomes or what we want to have, and we wanted to try to get this outcome by having some hypothesis about that. I would talk about some example from that later. And also another type is minimized and contained. It's when we want to try something, it would be a failure, but we already calculated all the risks for it. For example, when we change database in our system, like from, I don't know, MySQL to Postgres, and we know that there would be some failures, there would be some issues, but it will give us better outcome, and we are okay with some small issues which are basically predicted. What I wanted to highlight here is that it's our nature in our nature to avoid failure, and it's totally okay. But with that, when we are avoiding it, we avoid this fun part, which is discovery and accomplishment. What other examples of intelligent failure we can have in workspace as tech professionals could be launching new feature that fails. We tried, we launched it, we didn't had expected outcome, so didn't work in our expected way, lack of success. For example, some A/B tests, um, or some implementation of new agile process that doesn't work. I think from my career, I've had few companies where I worked, we didn't have agile, and we like started to implement it. We started to learn from it. Something we worked on like work out for us. Something didn't. So we were agile in that process. We learned from it, and we built like this agile in a way which was suitable for us, but also um, without like it wasn't possible without any mistakes and failures. What I already mentioned, some migration to new tech stacks. Uh, Another example could be hiring a candidate who doesn't work out. It's also a failure. We give it a try. It didn't work out. We can learn our lessons from it. Also, when we're talking about candidates and hiring process and failures, it's also good to remember for managers to think about long-term and short-term goals, like which person you want to have, which person you need the person which would be like great at some technology you need to work with right now, or you want a person who would be really a team player and would really like to grow to learn new technologies and grow and like learn this tool, for example, in a few weeks, but would be better with soft skills. So that would be long-term goal rather than short-term. So it's also like a way to learn from this failure. Also, trying a new meeting-free policy that fails, it's also a failure because we want to like give more time to our teams to do more work, but then they, for example, can um, be more closed about their progress, didn't share with other teammates, and then it can bring some difficulties with understanding what is going on, which tasks are in progress, where are blockers. So we gave it a try. It didn't work out. We can try another round and have like few days with the meetings and then learn from this experience. What are ineffective responses to failure? So we already talked about some different types of failure and some examples of failures from our tech field. Uh, I want to talk also and to share some ineffective responses we have as a human beings. What is interesting about us as people, it's like that we really struggle to learn from failure. It's we really would like to avoid to learn from it. We like to ignore it. We like to underline from the experience. Also, it's really common for us to forming like negative beliefs about ourselves than about like the lesson we can take from some failure. Um, One of the like small examples of this could be like when we it's really usual situation for software engineers when we create like our pull request, merge request, and asking other like colleagues to review it, and we can get like some feedback from them that this um, feature isn't created in a way it should be, or this functionality could be written like with other approaches. It could be like we can recognize it's a failure because we spent some time, we did our work, it didn't work out, and we could start think that it's our problem, that it's like we are bad developers. We needed to think about it up uh, like firsthand. We needed to think about all the options, but it's about like those negative beliefs we have. And but from that experience, we could have really constructive lessons that, okay, so I use this approach. Why is this approach like that my colleague asked me to do is better? We can have like some conversation to share experience, to say about that, okay, but I think your experience is like this, but from what I see, my approach is better because of this. So we don't need to take like all feedback as something we need to change something instantly and forming negative beliefs about themselves, about ourselves. Um, and there's like many research about this topic. I looked at one which calls like that failure is, you think failure is hard, but so is learning from it. So one of our like human being ineffective approach is what the hell effect. It's basically when we are trying something, it didn't work out from the first time, and we are like, okay, so then I wouldn't try. Um, so to check out how is our audience, I would like you to send some reactions if you had this, like if you did at least once in your life, like what the hell effect. Um, I'm not sure I can see those. I wasn't prepared for that, for these reactions. Uh, attendees, let me
We
check.
can, I think, yeah, a person writing in people writing in chat that they have
Yeah,
day and learn from that. Only losers try twice.
yeah, yeah, it's true. We like, like in our life as people, we only need to try once. It didn't like uh went successfully, so we need not to try. Yeah, thank you for that comment. I really like it. Yeah, so it's really common thing for all of us to have, and it's really common, I think, when you like wake up in the morning, you want to start your like to have some of your morning routine, then you're like, okay, I need to start to work. You start to work, and it's like you really feel not in the mood of working, and you're like, okay, so this day is ruined. I'll just start tomorrow. So it's a like really nice example of what the hell, and it's not like what we are learning from, what we want to have from something, some experience when we, for example, procrastinate, or we have some, as examples on the slide, like bad sprint review. We wanted to look at it and to learn from it. So from that procrastination, it would be good to think about. So maybe it's difficult task I have, and I don't want to start it. Um, to think about like approach how then I can start it. Maybe I need to go to my colleague to ask about their help, or I will go to like to have some uh, like article about that technologies and it will motivate me to start. Or I have some blockers I actually uh, really need to solve before. So it's always about self-reflection, which I will highlight a lot in this topic. And it's also about like setting, for example, micro recovery points. And for me, what is helping sometimes it's meditation. I have this Headspace app, and there are some meditation like um, coffee break meditation, and it's like 5 minutes, and I can like uh, have a step back from my work to like kind of return uh, to where I am right now, to think about what I want to do, like how I will do all this like work, or actually in meditation, think about nothing, and then come back and try a fresh start. Uh, on another hand, the really nice approach is to practice self-compassion. We really need to learn not to be hard on ourselves. So I watched this YouTube video from one psychologist, and when she like faced some like situation of uncertainty, she kind of started to talk to her inner child and communicate with this inner child in a way as a good parent, and to um, talk about like what's actually like bothering you. Is there something I can help with? So it's like basically work situations, but we what we are needed to take from them, it's experience, and like all the experience we can learn from it, it's by improving our soft skills, improving our self-compassion. Also, what I wanted to highlight about failure, it's the culture of the company or a project where you work. So if it's a blame culture, when people are not really allowed to make mistakes, when it's really difficult to like mentally to make mistakes in a way that if I will do some mistakes, then all my colleagues will say, okay, it's Olena mistake, so let's her fix it. Or everyone just trying to make it worse. For example, Olena did this mistake as she did all these other mistakes. So this blame culture didn't really helpful. It's not it's basic toxic environment, and we want to be in an environment which is supportive, because only in that environment we can really be able to make mistakes, to fail, and to learn from it. So blameless culture, it's when we make mistakes, we make failure, it's okay, but we are looking for opportunities to learn from it. We are understand that it can happen. It can happen with any team member. It can happen with any person, and we for sure have all to like infrastructure prepared to prevent it. But still, we can't prevent like everything, and we can have like situation like this that developer can accidentally deploy faulty code, which takes down a production system. But it's not in a way that we blame this specific developer. We would go and learn. So what was the problem with our system? Maybe we didn't have like code coverage to find this issue. Maybe there is an issue in in database, which I like to talk a lot. Maybe as a backend developer, but we are taking like our view from the person to the system, to the code. So the system can fail, and we need to understand why we need to prevent it, and we need to learn from it. And that's actually where the innovation starts. So okay, the issue was something with testing. So maybe we would like to try some new testing framework from which we can like some new technologies, have better test coverage, and prevent the issue from happening. What is also important when we have failures in our life, it's not to have ego barrier, because it's really related to blame culture, and it's really related to talking about like that it's only me, a bad person, to who all the failures happen. But it's in real world, it's not like that. There are like a lot of people who facing failure every day, and it's on us how we would approach it. And it's from that what I already mentioned, that people's nature is to avoid failure, and also to starting to think like that it's me who is incompetent, and that's why I have this failure. So we need to remove this ego barrier from that. And what are great approaches to that is to learn from others. So if it's your colleague who deployed something which broke, like a production system, so it's a great opportunity to learn. You can have, like, this colleague will do some postmortem. Postmortem, it's basically after some failures in tech companies. It's a document about like what went wrong, uh, what happened, which time, how it was solved, and what are actions not to have it in the future, and what are actions we do to improve the system from preventing this failure. So you can learn from these postmortems. You can learn from retrospectives, which are usually common in agile environments. Um, when you have this learn from other approach, it's really good for you to understand that, okay, failure happened. Uh, I learned it like from other people. It could also happen to me, but there is such a history of how people went through this. I can take my inspiration from that, and I will be most probably fine. Um, Also, it's good to think about your failure in a way how your friend would think about your failure, or or a person who supports you a lot. So imagine that this happened not to you but to your colleague. Would you blame your colleague in a way you blame yourself? I would think no. Like, like we mostly thinking that, okay, it's happened to my colleague, it's okay. But when it's happened to us, we're like, no way, no way it's happened to me, because for myself, everything should be working from the first try. We should remember that. It's a joke. Yeah, and secure the ego. So we need to remind ourselves, and also our teams as a people leaders, we need to remind of our past successes, expertise, that we are here not because mistake. We are here as a professionals who are here to do their job, who are here to learn, to grow, and to grow. You can't really grow without failures and mistakes. Um, so that's showing us about some others like um, feeling what we can have when we approach failure is a fear of failure. And when what we already talked about it, it's our natural human being response, but uh, sometimes it's preventing us from growth. And some signs of a fear of failure we have in our career, in our personal life, it's perfectionism. Like I think most of us knows because it's like I need to do everything perfectly or I will do nothing. But sometimes for some uh, tasks, for some projects, you don't need to have it perfect. Especially as developers, we work a lot for the business. We work a lot for our business needs. So if business needs some website in few days, some landing page, we can't say or we can talk about perfectionism in this case because you can't do a perfect website, like kind of can, but it's not like what we want to do, like perfect website in 2 days. So we need to think about, okay, I have 2 days, what I can accomplish in this time, what would be my time frames, what like pages I can do. Can I do like all of these pages they ask me to do, or I can start just from the main one or some like the one which is like most important to the business. Also, when we talk about signs of fear of failure, it's for sure procrastination. As I already mentioned, it can happen when we are basically not sure where to start. We are not sure uh, what would be our expected outcome from that, what we are wanted to do. We don't like the work we are assigned to do. And um, we procrastinate, and it's fine. In this case, it's better to um, do some uh, actions in this way to have a big, if it's a big task, to split it to smaller tasks. Sorry, to ask for help, to maybe asking for your colleague to, for example, body doubling you for some time. Uh, Body doubling, it's like this approach you when you want to do something and you are not like in a working mood, you can sit around someone who is working and you started to have this working atmosphere, working feeling, and from that person, and then you have like more inspiration to work on something. Um, Also, when we have some challenges and we don't know, it's like it's okay to do something first time, but we don't know how to do them. Maybe in this case, we need mentors, or maybe we need coaches, or we need to gain more experience from that field. So it's good to do some self-reflections in this case. Also, uh, another sign of fear of failure is really think a lot about other people's opinion. And from my experience, it could be more if it's blame culture in a workspace. So if you do some feature, you send your code to to code review, and you would be really afraid of like what my team lead will write or what the senior colleague will write. So you are kind of like really have this huge anxiety, you have huge fear about doing some actions. So it's also because this like how you really afraid of experience of opinion of other people. But in this case, we need to remember that we're sending our work, and it's like their feedback would be on our work, not on us. And our work doesn't identify how, like, who we are. If we do like bad work, it doesn't mean we are bad people or we are good people. If we are doing good work, it's really not working this way. And also self-sabotage is also a sign of a fear of failure. And when we are like really trying to do anything else than like doing the work we need to do. I already highlighted a few things which we can do overcoming fear of failure, but some of them are like which I haven't mentioned is adopt a growth mindset. So for each failure, we need to think about this as it as an opportunity to learn, even if it's like what I mentioned in the beginning, like when we put uh, in our personal life or when we put salt instead of sugar in our coffee, it's also opportunity to grow. Maybe we don't like sugar in our coffee and it would be nice without them. Or we will learn where sugar is, especially in the kitchen corner, what we didn't know before. Or we will learn that maybe coffee with the salt, not such a bad idea. Um, yeah, also we need to normalize failure, and to normalize failure, it's really important to have blameless culture where we really look at actions, we look at system failure. We don't look specifically at some individuals who made mistakes. It's also okay to take small risks. We really need to, like, it's our, like, how we grow, taking some risks, and we don't need to take huge risks when we do something. We can start from something small, and it's really important to remind ourselves and to remember to embrace like small wins, to remember about them. And small risks really like have this way to be sometimes like small wins, which we can uh, think about it, remember it, and learn from it as well. There was this research I mentioned earlier, and there was interesting thought that for junior specialists, they really attend to learn from the positive feedback, from the positive outcomes. So it's really important when we really in an early stage in our careers to have a lot of positive feedbacks on our actions, and to have small wins or big wins we can like um, kind of like take to ourselves. And when we are like already professionals, we are experts, we would like to have more um, feedback which is not really pleasant, or like some feedback from which we like can learn and can grow. And it's also the way how we can grow as a professional by taking risks and having some learning opportunities from it. Also, it's important, what I already highlighted, to practice self-compassion. We really need to think of ourselves as a people about who we care the most. And would you be hard on a person about which you care the most? I don't think so. You would like to have everything best for this person, to have the best support. So, and to be really, really careful about this person. So remember about being kind and working on your empathy. Also wanted to highlight some effective strategies. We are all working in agile environments, and we can take this agile environment to our personal lives, our experience, the way we are working on our tickets, on our task of any work we are working. Sorry, and we can do it in a way that, okay, I would like to learn, or for example, not to learn, but maybe to have a big feature. We are expecting to be successful after we deliver this feature. We don't expect about failure. So what we can do to be iterative, to be agile, we can start from breaking this feature to the small pieces, which we can do fastly. We can test it easier, and we can do it in iteration. So we start from one small part of this feature. We did it, we deliver it, for example, and it's okay, it's working, so we can start with another part. Also, iterations are a really great example. It's like our retrospectives, which we have, where we analyze everything. We think about, okay, so what we can do better next time. So you can have basically this retrospective for yourself every week, every few weeks, based on which time amount is most comfortable for you, every day. What went right, what went wrong on every task you work on. So then you will see, okay, so task like this usually took me 3 days, but this time I did this task in 1 day or 2 days. So it's a win, it's a small win, because previously it took longer. So what happened? What I have learned? So I'm better in these technologies, or I'm better at time management. We need to highlight it. We need to learn from it. And if I understand, so okay, I think I'm now better at time management. So then I can ask my manager to take more tickets. I can do more work, but with better outcome, because I am really sure I'm good with that right now. What are the parts of this iteration process? It's really fast feedback loops, incremental improvements. Also, it's really important to have psychological safety. We really want to share our failures, to talk about our failures in really safe environment. It's not like we are need to talk about our failures. It's all up to us. And it's a really reminder that if you don't want to talk about your failures, you don't need to. It's just a way how we can learn from it, but you also can learn from other people's failure. And if you want to talk about your failure, you can do it in a really safe environment, for example, with some of your teammates, your mentor, your coach, your manager. So it really should be like the atmosphere where you are really comfortable. Also, we need to think about data-driven decisions. So we did, for example, like when we're talking about sprints, so every sprint we as a team we have done like 10 tickets, but few latest sprints we did like 12. So it's like proven by data that we can take more tickets as a team, so that it means that we are improving in our like processes. And it's always about adaptability. For example, we tried something, it didn't work. It shouldn't be like um, someone's failure that this person came out with this idea doesn't work, so now we need to blame this person. It's not like that. We are learning from that. We don't need to change everything. We can adapt it to our specific environment. What is a really important topic about um, learning from failure is develop emotional resilience. Um, so emotional resilience, it's when you are calm in your mind after some of your negative experience. I don't have much time left, so I would try to be really short in this part, but we need really to think about like um, our actions and basically how we um, answer to some of negative experience. Um, and building emotional resilience, it's not something that happens through one night. It's like a building muscles. It's only when you practice it, it will be becoming better. You would be seeing that, okay, I react to this situation in different way, but why? Maybe it's because I'm trying to think about what are my emotional responses, or like maybe it's because I trying to change my approach to grow mindset. So when someone giving me feedback, I'm not being defensive. I'm starting to asking questions like, but why you came to this idea that I did something wrong? Like, what do you think I can grow like um, from this situation? So we are really seeking for feedback from other people, from ourselves, but really feedback we would like to hear. It's not about that we need to ask all the people around us about feedback, and also we need to give people time to prepare to give us the feedback, and also we need to be ready to take a feedback. So it's also another topic how to talk about feedback. We also need to work of our self-awareness about our grounding techniques. For example, I mentioned here meditation. We also need to to work on our growth mindset, which I already mentioned that it's like celebrate our wins, believe in adaptability, learn from other people's mistakes. Uh, what is really important for emotional resilience, it's being in supportive environment. It's really important when we did some failure, for example, in work, and we have, for example, blame culture at work. We don't have it at home, for example, with our partners, so we can, or with our friends, so we can go to them and seek for this, ask for support, discuss this situation, get feedback from their opinion. So we are in this like safe environment where we can talk about like our failures and normalize it and make like funny stories from it in the future. So it's really important to build a strong support system, and it's also is building like step by step. We need to really care about our mental and physical well-being. We need to set boundaries. We need to rest to be able to be productive, basically, and to have really mental, how to say, not ability, like to be really in a space where we are ready to learn from failure and to understand it happens and that we are calm in such situations, or we are changing our reactions to which we are really would like to have. And yeah, that's what I'm talking about, that develop next step mentality. So, for example, something happened, development, like you develop something, deploy it to production, production fails. So what are the next steps? Do you aware of them? Is it would be like to take this code changes back and then everything will work, or you need to go to some senior colleagues, or you are the senior colleague who need to fix all of it. So you need really like think in a way. So okay, I'm already in this situation. I can't change my past, but I can really think about what are my actions, what I can do to fix this. So it's all about our cognition, like how we think. It's all about how we analyze and evaluate the things. And it's all about actions, how we react to this. It's really important to reflect on our failures. Sometimes it's not like, like failure happened and you need to reflect on it right after. It's always up to you when you're ready. It's not like that you need to do it like in the 2 days after. It's basically when you will feel ready to reflect on something, you will if you are self-aware, you will understand, okay, so I am in a like part of my life where I am ready to analyze what really happened and how I can learn from it. It's really related to personal life experience. It relates, but when we talk about like professional life, when everything is like fastly changing, when we are, for example, in some process of interviews, of job changing, it's really would be nice to reflect on these things faster, maybe to prepare some framework to yourself where, okay, so I'm going from all these interviews. So what I think about this interview, what went well? Okay, this, and this. What was the failure? Okay, how I can prevent it next time. So you already kind of in the way that you are analyzing situation and learning how you can improve it. What is really important to empathize, to work on empathy regarding like other people. All people can do mistakes. All people can be in a really different life situation. You don't know like in which situation, like if you don't know in which life experience is your colleague which did this mistake, uh, it would be difficult to empathize to this person, and it would be difficult to understand why this person did this mistake. But it already also helps for you to like understand what went wrong and how to learn from it. Um, what I wanted to share with you some resources. We are already on some of last slides. So I really like this Shrinking TV series. It's about psychology, but it's also about like support which we have from our family, from our work colleagues, and how we can learn from it. There are a lot of jokes and a lot of situation we really can like say, okay, I'm going through something similar, I can learn from it. Also, the book which really teach us the empathy. It's this nonviolent communication, a language of life. It also helps us to have hard conversation, to understand other people, why they talk about like something they would like to talk in the way they do. Also, my favorite podcast, and see, I also do mistakes a lot, so I wrote it podcast wrongly, but soft skills engineering. I like this podcast because it basically shows that we all as software engineers and people in tech field, we all do mistakes. We There are many times where we unsure like what we should do, how we should do it, and it's really nice to learn from other a nice way to learn from other people experience. You can also share in the comments like some resources you really like on this topic. It would be really nice to learn from your experience as well. Also, what I want to ask you to do as a homework is to go through this resilience self-assessment. It's a test from University of Denver where you can understand on which, like where you are in your resilient journey, and then you can understand like in which way, like which part of your resilience can be improved and in which direction you would like to grow. Um, I will wait another second for that, or you can do it after we share this presentation with you. And last slide is about the ending of this presentation. I really hope you found really like really insights, some insights from this presentation, and that you uh, will work or you are already working, for example, on your self-awareness, resilience, reflects self-reflection, and you can find me on LinkedIn, X, Telegram, and ADP list. So this is last slide, and we are opening our Q&A session.
Hi, can you hear me? Because my
Yes,
super.
yes, hello.
Thank you so much. We had a very lovely discussion and comments in the chat. I will try to find questions within all the comments. And the first question is actually a more technical question.
Okay.
Is PHP still alive? Honestly, I use a Laravel, and this is a cool one. I like it and glad others use it.
Yeah, PHP is alive. Thank you for that question. PHP is basically the main technology I'm working with for like through my career. And right now I am using Symfony mostly. I would say that I have more experience with Symfony than with Laravel. Some time ago I was active at Symfony community, and I see this community is really going in nice direction with improving like the frameworks, improving like the functionality of it, what we can use from it. And PHP is definitely nice language to work with right now, especially the latest version we have.
Okay, so the next question we also have, and it was in the beginning of the talk, so I think it's kind of connected to the
Yeah.
first slides. In what part of failure classification is the problem of wrong estimations at the beginning of the project lying?
Yeah, it's basically intellectual failure because it's like you're going to the part where, for example, it's uh, like wrong estimation because of what? Because of people like are really optimistic, and we also, for example, we don't know about that, or we are working with new technology and we don't know how much time it takes for engineers to learn from that technology or like to master it. And so it's a lot about unknowns. And so it's basically intellectual failure from which we can learn. And in this case, it would be nice to have reflection on this case and to learn. So, okay, this task we think it will take us 7 days, but it took us, I don't know, 15 days. Why? So then we are really learn like the awareness of the processes, awareness how like other people works, how much time it takes them, and we can make sure to like include all this knowledge to our next estimation.
Some of our participants, they shared their stories, and I will not read all of them, but some of them.
Okay.
I had a project where the product was built on a React single page app. It was a kind of a real estate social app, and nobody realized about SEO implements. When raised to team and stakeholders, they made deaf ears. At the end, the project was closed, client lost, and the product never reached live.
Yeah, I'm so sorry to hear about this experience, but it's really like what we have in tech field. We all hear about all this, like successful startups, successful apps, but it's always a little bit kind of like hidden how many projects fails. How I don't remember statistics, but it is there that for some amount of successful project, we have for sure some amount of failed of project which were never released, like really user and production environment. I also had this experience where we worked on project. We were kind of at the end of the implementation, and then there was a change in management, and we didn't release it. Um, it's really um, I felt really bad about that. I spent like so much time on something that people don't use, like want to use. But at the same time, when I was working on that project, I used such nice technologies. I improved my tech skills. I found really great colleagues with some we are friends till these days. So it's also like a part from which we can learn.
Definitely. Yeah, actually, I remember that you said that if something goes wrong, uh, like think what this situation, like if the situation happened to your colleague. And actually, I mean, that's something that I'm practicing with myself because we have this tendency to be very strict on ourselves. So if we make a mistake, we're like, oh my God, you're so stupid. Like, how can you do this? So we have this dialogue with ourselves. But actually, the best advice that you can give, like, imagine that something like that happens to a friend. I don't think you'll be telling this all of
Yeah,
this hard things to your friend. You'll be like supportive. No, 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 you can learn from that. So yeah, we just need to treat ourselves like friends.
yeah, yeah,
That's actually very true. And another strategy that I'm practicing right now, and we have comment about this, is about it is better to procrastinate than to do something next that leads to worse consequences. What do you think about this? Because for me, actually, that's something I'm practicing right now in my life because sometimes it's better to let it go, not to do and not to take actions. Because I'm a person who, this three approaches. You can run or freeze
yeah,
or like fight. I
yeah.
usually fight and I try to freeze or run, no? So what do you think? Is it better to procrastinate than to do something that can lead to worse consequences?
Mm, I would say that I like me personally, I more agree with that than disagree because um maybe if you procrastinate, it's something you don't really care about or it's something not important. to your life. So it's not always that it's something we for sure need to do, or uh, it's happened a lot that priorities changed, and the ticket you have today, you won't have it tomorrow. So sometimes you can kind of like have this, I don't know, luck game to wait till something happens. But I'm not saying that is the best strategy. It just sometimes we are mentally in this place where we would do this way instead of like really fighting for something to be finished. And it's also okay because it's our like way how we like having our some emotional response to some situations.
We have comment about that procrastination could lead you out of the market. It isn't only related to project failures and learnings,
Yeah,
which is
it's
kind
true.
of true, yeah, as well. Okay, so back to questions and comments that we have. We have many thank yous, and many people said that it's a very interesting talk. So thank you guys for this comment. And we have comment that only I and Olena can see because it wasn't sent to everybody. But I will read this because it's advice for us to read a book. So good book to read regarding this topic is Mindset by Carl Dweck. So guys,
Hmm.
you can read this book.
Thank you.
Okay, just give me a second. I need to go through the chat. Can a leader fail on purpose to get the team learn from the failure?
Oh, it's a really good question. Um, I would say that I don't have experience like that in my professional life, so I'm not sure. I can only guess like if I can do something like this or not. But uh, if it would happen, for example, for me in my professional life, uh, I would be thinking that like this leader, like it's a manager, I don't know, a team lead, that they don't really care about my emotional well-being. Um, but it really depends. I don't have really the answer for this because it's really philosophical question, and I'm not in that kind of position where I could experience that.
Okay, and also we have a question that basically is from the experience of other participants. So, well, I have a real situation that leads to failure. Question: how can you estimate the cost of a data analytics project before signing an NDA when you haven't seen the database, but you need that project, and so you want to sign contract before your concurrence?
Oh, it's a good question. I don't have this experience, but I think it's all about taking a risk. It's like you you want this experience, you want like this to learn from that. You really don't know like what is there, and you only learn from that by taking this risk to try it and then to see if it's like work out or not. I hope this NDA it's not like for being like contractor for the rest of your life. So uh, I hope is if it's something like didn't work out, you can like kind of step back from that. So yeah, I think it's a good example about like risks and when it can be also useful, not in just some, I don't know, startup environments or entrepreneur environment.
Sometimes some people say that it's better to regret something that you did than
Yeah.
something you haven't done. So maybe
Yes.
taking risk in this case can be a nice strategy. Also, we have the recommendation besides books. Our participants recommend Apollo 13 and the Martin movies as samples of resilience and learning from errors. So, guys, during weekends, you have two movies that you can check. So we basically don't have questions as far as I checked in the chat. Usually we announce three winners during the event. We just decide which questions are the best. But since we have a lot of stories and personal experience in a chat that I haven't read because we don't have that much time, maybe I think our approach here can be that I'll send all the comments, all the chat to Olena, so Olena can have time to read through all of your stories and all of your comments and choose three winners. And I will contact these people during next week and announce the gifts. Will it work for you?
Yeah, it's the best way we can do. I like this.
I really enjoyed our event personally because usually, yeah, we have very deeply technical topics, and I don't understand that much of from this field. So now I had something that I could learn from. So thank you very much. And
Thank you.
yeah, it's somebody I remember said in a chat that it's very hard to separate ourselves from our work. So if we have the feedback about our actions, we can take it very personally. But I wish you guys, yeah, take care of yourself and be like not be so strict with ourselves because we are the only. I mean, I'm the only person that will be with me till the very end. So actually, it's very important to take care of ourselves and let us learn. But I wish you to learn, of course, from good experience or from bad experience of other people. But if you have something that happened to you not very pleasant, yeah, just try to embrace it. Olena,
Yeah.
thank you so much for your time, and yeah, thank you very much.
I thank you so much. I wanted to mention that when we are talking about learning from the experience, I really appreciate your feedback in the chat about the talk, and I'm not sure how the feedback can be sent from some feedback form. It
Yeah, we'll
uh,
have the feedback forum. So next week I'll do the yeah, it's interesting information for our participants and for our speaker. Next week I'll send the mailing with video presentation and also feedback form. So guys, I know that you send a lot of feedback in the chat already, but if you have more to say,
yeah.
please don't hesitate to fill in the feedback form, and then I'll share all the feedbacks with Olena as well. So yeah, you'll have all these comments.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this time, and I really hope you will have more intelligent failures to really grow in your professional life.
Yeah. So, guys, thank you so much for being with us today. Olena, thank you so much for sharing your experience. I know that I mean, person has to be very brave to share some personal stories and not about the success, but maybe about some failures. So, yeah, thank you so much for being with us today. And I hope it's not the last Svitla Smart Talk that we have together. And yeah, have a nice evening, day, morning, because we have people from different continents, I can say. So, yeah, just enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.